Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's actually kind of a nice day here. It feels somewhat like spring. I live in a really cold state and it's around 50, so it actually felt nice outside today. But anyway, I wanted to make a video and I wanted to do one talking about how the narcissist never really forgets about you. And this is something that when you're dating the narcissist and then they suddenly abandon you and they run off with the new supply and you really feel like, wow, how could they literally just forget all about me? It's like I never even existed. And you feel like, really? Do they really just move on and never think of me ever again? And it's sort of yes and no. They do move on extremely quickly. As you know, they get new supply immediately because they can't be alone. They always need constant attention and they're not able to feel good about themselves, so they have to use other people to make themselves feel good. So they can't be without a supply. And when they move on, they are all about the new supply at first. I mean, they're obsessing over them. It's almost like euphoric. It's sort of like a drug high. I mean, you can actually look at the narcissist with new supply and they're acting like Tom Cruise when he was jumping up and down on Oprah's couch about, Katie Holmes. They're crazy. It's like they're on a euphoric high or a drug high. And they're like, wow, oh my God, I have this new supply. This is awesome. They might run out and get your name tattooed. They want to hurry up and marry you. I mean, they're just crazed. They're so obsessed. And when you're the old supply and you're seeing this play out and they're running around getting someone else's name tattooed and just doing these crazy things, you're like, what the hell? How could they just forget all about me? Well, the narcissist doesn't forget about you. They have not forgotten about you. But now they are, instead of obviously thinking about you in a good way like they did during the love bombing, now it's like they just sort of they really hate you, to be honest. If you've unmasked them or figured them out in any way, caught them in a lie, gave them boundaries, especially if you broke up with them, if you end a relationship with a narcissist, it causes a narcissistic wound because it tells the narcissist, you're not good enough for me. So I'm dumping you. And they already feel terrible about themselves. I mean, they hate themselves. They just feel like total pieces of crap. So when you break up with them, they're kind of like, okay, so then that confirms it. I'm really not good enough. And this person totally walked away from me. And so now they're like really, really, they just feel even worse about themselves. And they're never prepared for you to just sort of like disappear. If they don't have a new supply in place, when you do leave them, they're really going to sort of have a narcissistic meltdown. And that kind of happened with my ex. And I mean, he was talking to the next supply, but she wasn't entirely in place yet. He was still grooming her. And so they freak out when you just break up with them and they're unprepared for it. They're like, oh my God, they have a total meltdown and just don't even know what to do with themselves. But I like went off on a tangent and now I kind of forgot what I was talking about. But so the narcissist feels like crap about themselves if you break up with them. And now, because you've caused that wound, they're angry. They want revenge. They think of you, narcissists only have black and white thinking. You're either all good or all bad. They don't really have that gray area. And, with a normal person who's not personality disordered, you can, love someone. And let's say they do something that really pisses you off. Well, you just get mad at them. You don't all of a sudden go, okay, I hate this person now, and now I'm just only going to see them negative and blah, blah, blah. Well, narcissists do, because they don't really love you. They're only obsessed with you. They're having this like euphoric, weird obsession with you, but it's not love. So since it's not real love, once you start disappointing them, or even if you just give them a boundary or in some way you don't live up to their expectations, now, instead of being all good like you were during the love bombing and all the euphoria, now you've suddenly switched to all bad. So now everything you do is wrong. They're disgusted by you. They hate you, blah, blah, blah. A normal person, they'll be like, okay, I'm really pissed at you and I hate you in this moment, but I still love you. Narcissists don't do that. So now the narcissist totally hates your guts because you've probably caught them cheating, you've caught them lying, you've unmasked them in some way, you've at least given them boundaries or some sort of rules. And narcissists don't like rules, they don't play by anybody's rules. And whatever happened to where you're not together anymore, they're pissed about it because you are a supply that got away. If they broke up with you, it was probably because they couldn't manipulate you anymore. You weren't dancing to their tune like you had in the past. Maybe now you're telling them no. Maybe, you're giving them boundaries or rules of some kind. You're standing up to them. You're not just going to be a doormat and let them walk all over you. Well, they don't want to be with people like that. They want to be with somebody who's going to lay there and be a doormat and let them get away with whatever they want to do, all of their hijinks. And they don't want to sit there and be with somebody who's going to give them rules. So if you do, they're out the door. They're like, okay, this is about done. I can't keep manipulating. She's getting on to me. She's, asking questions like she doesn't trust me. She's getting suspicious. She's giving me boundaries. And then if you dumped them, they're just super pissed because, again, you're still a supply source that got away. You realize that they are a sack of crap and they're not good enough for you. And so you get the hell out of Dodge. So they have an axe to grind with you. You might be sitting here going, okay, we broke up 6 months ago. Maybe they dumped you and they sort of abruptly broke up with you. You didn't even see this coming. They run off into the sunset with a new supply. They're happier than ever. They're posting lovey-dovey things on social media. Maybe they even married the new supply. And you haven't heard from them since. You've heard nothing. It's been complete silence. And, you'll know, just reading about narcissism, that one of the things narcissists do is that they do always hoover, which is where they come back into the picture and try to make contact with you after, a discard of some kind that has happened. They always hoover, try to come back around to get more supply from you. So you're probably sitting there like, well, he's moved on with this new person and he's not hoovered me. So what's going on? Did he really just totally forget about me? And he's not forgetting about you. He's obsessing about you. You are a supply source that got away. And especially if you were a good source of supply. A lot of times narcissists find themselves in a downgrade. And this happens when you break up with a narcissist and they don't really see it coming. So they don't have time to get a good source lined up in place to replace you. So they kind of take whatever they can get. And a lot of times the next supply is a downgrade of in some way, because they didn't have the time to groom someone that they really knew that they could get a lot of fuel from. So they kind of just took whatever was there. And if that's the situation, they're definitely not forgetting about you, because now they're with somebody that they know isn't providing the kind of fuel that you did, and they are pissed about it. And as we know, narcissists do not accept accountability. So instead of like accepting personal accountability and going, yeah, well, I guess she did dump me because I was cheating and lying and doing drugs and doing all of these messed up things. So she broke up with me. And you know what? It was my fault. They don't do that. They blame you because they think, wow, I had it so easy with her. I was able to live with her. She paid all my bills. She cooked for me. She cleaned for me. I got sex on demand. She gave me money. She gave me attention and praise. Whatever it was that they wanted, you provided it. And they were kind of in the lap of luxury. And now they know that they're not. They're like, well, this new supply isn't doing any of the things that, the old supply did. And they blame you for that. They blame the old supply because they think you took it away. You're the evil bitch and you took your wonderful supply and packed it up and walked out the door. And so they're angry. They are definitely not forgetting about you. They're just not reaching out to you at the current moment. But you don't really want them to. I know that depending on what stage of recovery you're in from dealing with a narcissist, you do want them to reach out to you in the beginning because you just want to hear something. It just feels like you've been totally deserted. And you're kind of like, well, how could they do this to me? Because you loved the narcissist. Everything that you felt for them was real on your end. And you had, good times with the narcissist. I mean, you thought you did. And, it seemed like you had all these things in common and all this stuff was wonderful. And now they just totally disappear. And you really feel like just the lowest you could ever feel in your entire life. It is absolutely horrible to be ghosted and to have somebody do that with your feelings. It really feels like they really don't care about me, and they don't. And that does suck to hear and to really understand. I remember really acknowledging the fact that he never loved me. It is hard because you loved them so deeply, and you talked about things like getting married and having children, perhaps. And you did so much together with this person. And to think that they didn't even love you, it's crushing. So you're desperate to hear from them. And even though you know, like if you've caught them cheating or you've found out about lies, you still want to hear from them because you just want to know why. Why did you do this? Why didn't you love me? Why are you with this new person? How could you do this? How could you forget about your family and just walk away? And we want answers, but the narcissist is never going they're never going to give you answers ever. They don't, because to do that they would have to accept accountability and blame because the demise of the relationship was their fault. They don't want to admit that or acknowledge that. So unfortunately you're not really going to get those answers, and but you're just desperate to hear from them, and it really hurts when you don't. But when you get later into the healing stages of narcissistic abuse, you realize it's a good thing because in the beginning you're still vulnerable to their manipulation. And if they did reach out, you might be vulnerable into responding. And they just get fuel from that. And we don't want to give them fuel. So believe me, they're not just totally forgetting about you. They don't think of you in the way that you want them to think about you. I know that you want them to be missing you. You want them to realize that they did love you. You want them to want you back. You want them to miss the good times that you guys had. And unfortunately, they are thinking of you, but not in that way. What they're thinking is how good they had it with you. If you did more for them, if you were like grade A supply source, and you did way more for them than what the new supply is doing, that's all they think about. They don't miss you. They miss the things that you provided or did for them. They think, wow, I had it so good when I was with so and so. She did everything for me. And this person just isn't doing any of that. And I miss all that stuff that person did for me. But they don't miss you as a person. They just miss how you made life easy for them. I made life so easy for my ex. He didn't have to do anything. He literally didn't have to do anything but breathe. I did everything for him. And his new supply doesn't. And so now he's currently in the stages of stalking me and stalking my mother. And, you don't want the narcissist to reach out to you because it really is annoying and disturbing. And you kind of do get to a point where you're like, God, I wish they would just forget about me. But I know in the beginning you don't think that because you still love them. You're still reeling from this whole thing, but they're not forgetting about you. They do, when they're in a situation where they're not getting good supply, they do think of you. They think of the things you did for them. And also they think of you because they want to get even with you. You took their supply away and they are pissed off. And so now they have to deal with a situation where they're getting terrible supply and they blame you. And then they might do things like stalk you, reach out to you with like horrible comments, calling you names. My ex was saying, you're fat, you're ugly. He told me I looked like Shrek. He said I looked like Miss Piggy. I was a disgusting human being. This, that, and the other. I mean, they will say anything to get a response from you, and they lash out. They have a narcissistic rage and they lash out and just go crazy. And when that happened, I knew he was really spiraling and that his new supply source just wasn't up to par as far as he was concerned. And he was lashing out and pissed and angry, and he was taking it all out on me. And so the narcissist does think about you after you're not together. They think about the supply that you gave them, and they think about the wound that you caused, and they think about getting revenge on you. They want to see you fail because they think you've hurt them, you've taken their supply away, they're mad. They want total revenge. They want you to gain weight, they want you to be depressed. They probably want you to be suicidal. These people are complete monsters with no soul. They are heartless monsters. And they're not satisfied until you are completely obliterated. And I mean, that's why you have to go no contact, block them, change your phone number, do whatever you have to get away from these people, because they do have the capacity to become unhinged and very dangerous. I mean, you see stories in the news all the time where somebody was a narcissist and the wife left or whatever, and the guy snaps and kills her, and they even kill their children. So these people are very dangerous. They're capable of insane things. They have no conscience. So they're absolutely capable of murder. I mean, you know, they don't feel bad about the things they do, so they would have no problem killing somebody or harming them physically, because they have no conscience to tell them not to do that and to feel bad about it. So you have to get away from these people. You have to go no contact. I know that you want them to reach back out to you, and you want them to think of you, and you want them to miss you. um, but the longer you stay away, and the more you really like read about narcissism, and I mean, I got a ton of books from Amazon about it, and it's like the more you read, the more it just blows your mind, and you realize how fake everything was and how this person wasn't a real person. And it becomes easier to move on from those feelings of missing the narcissist, because you realize you didn't miss anybody. You missed yourself, if anything, because they just pretended to be you. They mirrored you, and it becomes easier to move away from that. So if you're in the beginning stages and you're really missing them, and it's really hard for you to accept the fact that they're not reaching out and you think they're not thinking of you, they are thinking of you in a way, but it's not the way that you want. And they will hoover you at some point. I don't care if it's 10 years down the road, they will come back, because they always do. And it's imperative that you don't respond to them. You just block them and move on with your life, because they're never going to change, and they're never going to love you the way you loved them. So hopefully this video was helpful to you guys, or you enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.